Now to your questions. Someone writes, using control strategies is not a viable option in implementing boundaries with my oppositional teen. How can I get them on board to comply willingly? I know you talked about this in your presentation. Maybe you could give a script of how to begin this conversation.
Yeah, even a script is tricky, right? Because it just varies wildly from kid to kid and age to age. A lot of this is one thing I would wonder is, and they don't have to answer this, but like, how oppositional is your kid, and is it becoming less, right? Because sometimes we only notice the opposition. We notice the opposition because it keeps happening, but it might be happening once every 3 days instead of once every 2 days. And that matters, like that's significant, but maybe not noticeable. But the way, like I tend to think of oppositional behavior as the gentler I can be, the better my result is going to get. So like she said, the less controlling I try to be, the more likely I am to get my kid to do what I need them to do. Because that opposition is coming from a place of anxiety. So really what I want to do is help my kid be regulated emotionally and calm and balanced. And then I'm going to get further when I make requests of them. Now, I can't always do that, right? Because maybe the teachers are the ones dysregulating him. I don't know. But helping your kid to know, hey, bud, you're safe. Like, you're good. Whatever's going on, we're going to figure it out. It's just a problem to solve. That's a phrase I use a lot with my sons. It's just a problem to solve. Like, this doesn't reflect on you and make you a bad person. It's just a problem we have to solve. We got to figure this out, right? A lot of what I would recommend doing is less about a script and more about tone of voice or phrases, maybe like that's sort of a script, but like, you're not in trouble, I'm not upset, hey, we're good. And body language, right? Like, have this conversation when you're both sitting down. Do not square off on your son. Squaring off feels like confrontation to a boy. It often feels like connection to a woman or a girl, but boys and men feel confronted when you square off on them. So don't square off on them. If you need to have a hard conversation, drive down the road and have them sit in the passenger seat and just talk while you drive, so that you're shoulder to shoulder instead of face to face, or like a 45-degree angle or ish is also useful. Look at how coaches talk to their players, and you'll get an idea of what I mean. That's the way. A lot of it has more to do with body language and tone of voice than scripts, but just being calm and like, hey, you're good, right? And if they're getting angry or frustrated, like, note that, hey, I can tell that you're getting angry. If we need to pull out of this conversation and circle back to it, we can. I'm not mad at you. The more I can stay balanced while they're dysregulated, I want to be the rock that they can hold on to in their emotional storm. But that's hard if your kid is 6 foot tall and weighs 198 pounds or 200 pounds, and you weigh 98 pounds and you're 5 feet tall. Right now, it's scary, potentially. His anger means more, depending on the physical dynamics going on as well. I hope that was useful.
Yeah, we have a similar question. When my son gets emotionally dysregulated, it triggers me. We both have ADHD. Mm-hmm. How can I manage his lashing out without getting myself upset?
I would tell him, for one thing, maybe not in the moment, but like, hey, when you lash out like that at me, I experience this. Like, this is how that feels. This is what happens for me, right? And so now I set a boundary, right? So moving forward, if you start lashing out at me, I'm gonna end that conversation. We're gonna have it. We're gonna have to come back to it, but I'm not gonna stay in that situation. So that's what's up, kid, right? Like, that might be a thing. Most conversations can wait a day, usually. And half of these conversations, if not more, have been waiting for months to be had, right? So we can wait another day. And know that you get triggered, right? So if I know I'm going to be triggered and I'm going into this situation, I can do one of two things. I can either go, oh man, I'm going to get triggered, and get anxious about the fact that I'm going to get triggered and make my trigger even lighter. Or I can go, hey, I might get triggered in this moment. Let me steel myself. Let me do what I need to do to balance my emotions so that when I engage in this conversation, I can manage them better. Because like I said, I want to be the rock that my kid gets to cling on when they're emotional, right? Because it's not personal. Half the time our kids are, if our kids are lashing out, it's because they're trying to get out of that conversation. So when we shut it down, we're letting them get out of the conversation and they're getting what they want, right? So if we can stay balanced and stay in the pocket, then when they lash out and we just kind of ride those waves and we still got to talk about this, right? Now I'm using my power to keep them engaged, but I'm not controlling. I'm just like, look, we still got to talk about this. I'm going to answer. We got to talk about this. Like we're either going to keep coming back to it over and over again, or we can just ride this out. And that means I have to be balanced. I just do. And it's not fun and it's not great. And I don't like it either, but it's part of being a parent.
Someone says that when they try to implement rules and boundaries, their kids start to get very emotional and they can't have a normal conversation with them. So what happens when they can't disagree, when they disagree on rules and other things, and the kid's so emotional that they're not coming to any kind of agreement?
It's working, right? like the kid's strategy works. That's what you're telling me. So don't let it, which doesn't mean you have to be mean about it, right? Like, look, kid, I love you. We got to talk about some new rules and boundaries and guidelines and stuff. You're not going to like it, obviously, because every time we try to have a conversation like this, you get upset. And I'm really sorry. I don't want you to be upset, but we do need to have this conversation. So I'm going to answer. Would you prefer we had this conversation over text or over email or just pass a piece of paper back and forth? We can do it that way if you want to. That's fine, but we need to hash this out in some way. Right? Like that's what's up. We've got to have these conversations with our kids. And not the least of which, because at some point our kids are going to have a job. And if their boss is like, hey, we have to talk, and they melt down, they're going to lose that job. Right? So we've got to be able to handle it so that they can learn how to handle it, so that they can then go off and do the things that you do as an adult and manage their emotions in a more professional environment as well. Like that. And it stinks. And I don't, like I said, I don't like it either, but it's how it works. Right. Like, and something connected to this that I want to, cause it's got to be in there somewhere, is the kid that like swears, right? Or they insult us or whatever. That's in here somewhere. That's the kid changing the subject, right? Like that's what that is. Don't let them disregard that, right? Like my kids could call me every name in the book and I'm staying on topic. I might go, cut that out. That's not how we talk to each other. But then I'm going back, right? I'm not going to, you can't call me that, blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing that. I'm like, that's not a thing. Cut that out. And then I'm going to go right back to whatever we're talking about. And if they keep going, I'm going to be like, all right, so you're not ready to talk about this right now? I'm going to give you X amount of time and we're coming back to it, because we do have to have this conversation. But no amount of you calling me whatever name is going to keep us from having this conversation. I'm going to instead take the swearing as an indication that you are dysregulated and ask you to get yourself back to balance. And we're going to have this conversation again. That's what's up, right? This is going to sound bananas, but one of the best parenting scenes I've ever seen in any movie ever was Rocky V. I know it's a Rocky movie. Who would have thought? But he's having his conflict with his kid, and he goes to find him because Rocky realizes that he's the one making the mistakes, like he's been blowing his kid off. And he finds his kid in a street corner smoking a cigarette, right? And he goes, oh, geez, you smoke too? And the kid's like, yeah, what of it? And Rocky's like, man, we have to talk about how I've been doing this stuff wrong and we need to fix our relationship. Blows off the fact that his kid is smoking completely and stays on topic, which is what we need to do as parents.
Wow. A teacher says, I have multiple male students with ADHD in one class at a time. Sometimes they feed off each other, and it's tricky to get them away from that mob mentality of school isn't important. Do you have suggestions for how to motivate them collectively or individually?
Depending on how severe this is, administration and guidance. Like, I mean, you know that, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. I'm assuming this is a female teacher. It's a woman just because odds are it's a woman. So as a guy, I can do stuff that a woman can't do in terms of like mob mentality man stuff. I would again I would give them your dilemma. Like, and I don't know what grade this is. It's probably high school. But I would just say to them, hey guys, like this is what you're behaving like this, and it's making my day worse. It's making your day worse. It's messing up the rest of your fellow classmates' days. And you might even need to go into like, I'm noticing that the other kids are looking at you in ways that you probably don't want to get looked at as. Like they seem to, they're not taking you seriously. They don't seem to respect you. Like I would be mindful of how I would say that, but you might need to share with them that their behavior is being noticed by their peers. And like own it, like validate it, right? Like, hey, there might even be a way you can get, depending on a teacher's personality and stuff. Some teachers can say, all right, so class, we're going to talk about this thing. And I know you guys are going to do X, Y, and Z when I start talking about this. So I'm ready. Like, just cut it out. I'll give you a minute and then we're going to move on. Right. And then you kind of go, like, you just predict their behavior in advance. That might work. I've seen teachers go, guys, I know you're not interesting anymore. It was really compelling in the beginning of the year when you did this, and this, but like it's March, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff I've seen happen too. Some of this is what a teacher's personality and kind of what they can pull off in terms of that stuff. But I would try validating their behavior and saying, hey, I noticed it, but not in a way that's like you're entertaining or you're great. It's just like, look, guys, I know you're doing this. Cut it out. It's not interesting, right? Not like it's not appropriate, not you're being a bad person, but pick an adjective that's like compelling but not judgmental, right? Like it's not interesting. No one's excited by that, right? Like the stuff that kind of undermines them without being mean. Especially if you can kind of undermine them in a way that's mildly confusing, you'll at least get a little bit of space.
Okay. The ADHD brain is focused almost exclusively on short-term benefits and priorities, yet the Common App opens up this Friday. And here we are trying to get our 16 and 17-year-olds to think about and engage in a college application process that will stretch on for the next 10 months and for which the benefits feel very far away. How can we make this process not just less overwhelming, but actually exciting and engaging for our teens, particularly those who are 2E?
You can make it more concrete by touring colleges now. Doesn't mean you have to pick anything, but like, hey, this is a potential goal. You could talk to them about what they want to do. Like if they have a clear view of what they want to do with their lives, you can get them connected to that in some way. One of these is going to sound obvious and one of these is going to be maybe not obvious. One of my kids wants to do work with people who have OCD when he gets older. He basically wants to be me for OCD. So we're in the process of getting him work as a peer support person because he has OCD and he's been hospitalized for it and stuff. So he's going to be on call with this mental health group so that if they have someone who needs a person with a teen with OCD to talk to them, he can do that, right? So he's getting a little bit of a very light preview of mental health work. My other kid wants to make movies, which is less obvious. And I'm in the process of getting him on a film set because turns out I know people who make movies. They make small movies in Massachusetts, but they make movies. So I can get him sort of doing that, right? Talk to guidance counselors, talk to your friends and see if you can help your kids envision what their job would be or career might be like so that college feels like it matters more or the workforce feels like it matters more. We want to make it more concrete. And then you also want to break the college application process down into small, manageable chunks, which hopefully guidance counselors are doing in the same way that you would break an essay or a project down. Getting into college is just a project, right? So there's an essay, there's SATs, there's letters of recommendation, there's your whatever you have on your college transcript. Doing those kinds of things and figuring that stuff out now, and then beginning with the end in mind and working backwards is the way to go. Did I lose you? Oh no, I can't hear anything.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. We had questions around what are proper boundaries for video and screen time.
Now, am I back?
Yes. Can you?
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Did you? I don't know when I cut out. Did I cut out? Did you hear all that?
Yeah, I'll just ask yes, you did. I mean, we heard you. So I'm just going to ask the question again. There were a lot of questions around video screen time use and what are proper boundaries, and does it go by age? And if you could offer a little bit more specifics around proper screen time allocation.
Yeah, my lens on this is the younger they are, right? So we can go into middle school, I guess. I kind of start at like, I don't know, an hour or two, maybe. Like it depends. So hopefully they've got enough going on that they're not on a screen that much, right? They're doing homework, they're doing after school clubs or a sport or something. If you've got that stuff going on, it's going to crowd screens out. If not, you might want to find stuff that is a better alternative to screens so that they're on screens less. Or think it through with your kid, right? Maybe an hour a day or 2 hours a day is sort of where you want to limit it, and set that when they're younger. And then as time goes by and they get older, right? By the time they're 16, they're going to just be managing their phone, right? And you might want to set boundaries around no phones after 7 o'clock, like my family has. But that means that you have to follow that rule too. Whatever rules you set up for your kids, you should follow. So we're not doing like a no phones after 7, but it's only the boys. It's my wife and I as well. We went from an hour in middle school to like 2 hours around around 8th grade freshman year. And then it sort of got loose during sophomore year. And now it's kind of, we just trust them to use their phones correctly. And if we notice that they're not, we kind of step in and have a conversation. But again, we're pretty much done at 7. At 7 o'clock, we wrap up and do some family stuff for a little while. They tend to listen to a song before they go to bed, but that's it. We can trust them to just listen to one song and then go to bed. I would say early middle school, you're looking at like an hour. As you get into later middle school, maybe expand it to 2 hours a day, and maybe weekends are slightly different. And then once they get to sophomore year, junior year, like they got to know how to use that phone. And this means we have to teach them about the different jobs and roles of the phone and all of that stuff. Because at some point they're going to college and they can do whatever they want. So better that they understand the role the phone plays in their lives than just have these arbitrary, strict boundaries around its use as they get older. Younger, it makes more sense.
Okay. Unfortunately, that has to be our last question because we're out of time. But Brendan, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise.